The Johnathan Kuminga and Warriors situation has to be one of the most unique situations I've probably seen in the league over the last couple seasons. On one end, you got a young guy that believes that he could be way more than what he's doing right now. And then on the other end, you have a Warriors franchise that doesn't necessarily view him as being that guy per se, but they want to mold him into being, a particular player for them going forward. And going into next season, most likely, there have been trade rumors concerning Johnathan Kuminga, but more often than not, I think he's just going to stay with the Warriors. And depending on how he goes about things, it will be a make or break season for him. But before I get into that, I ask that y'all go down and subscribe. My last video did very well. It was the best video I ever produced on the channel. I got a lot of feedback from you guys, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get into the video. So, this previous year for Johnathan Kuminga, pretty down year overall. I mean, the efficiency wasn't there. He shot the most threes for his career, but, it's the lowest percentage of his career. And looking at his per 36 stats, he actually, according to those stats, this is his best year. But overall, kind of just looking at him play, he forced a ton of shots. He had heavy tunnel vision. It was the season to prove himself worthy of, that rookie extension. And obviously he didn't play well enough, to warrant that rookie extension. Now, as it is right now, Kuminga is looking to get around $30 million a season, I believe. Warriors offered him 2 years for 20, and then I think 25 for qualifying offer or whatever. Obviously he declined, which is, pretty warranted. A guy in his situation, being a great player, he's not entirely bad. Not having, your coach's confidence in you being a good player, I'd feel some type of way too. And, I'd want the money that I'm looking to receive after going through all the stuff that Johnathan Kuminga has went through. I honestly think the Warriors probably would have traded him by now if it wasn't so difficult. Teams just don't have money this offseason. I mean, you still have the situation with Josh Giddey, and I think eventually him and the Bulls will reach a deal, but, he's probably going to have to wait a little bit. Obviously, Kuminga, biggest person probably dealing with this situation right now. Cam Thomas, another guy seeking 30 plus million, but the Nets, they're not really trying to throw that at a guy that averages over 20 a game and really doesn't provide much else on the offensive end besides a little bit of playmaking. So most likely going into this season, I think Johnathan Kuminga, he has to stay with the Warriors. He has to accept, he has to opt in. He's going to have to play well. Now, obviously, the Warriors franchise isn't going to be fully set on him playing well. And, I'll explain why. Steve Kerr, he really just doesn't believe Johnathan Kuminga could be the player that Johnathan Kuminga believes he can be. Steve Kerr wants to mold him into this role dude that, just goes out, plays hard defense, could shoot a little bit off the dribble, just provide that high energy. And Kuminga's not really trying to do that. So, looking at how the Warriors are constructed, are we really going to see Johnathan Kuminga finally, explode, finally become the player that we've seen the visions of? And who knows? I mean, honestly, I do see him probably starting out the year coming off the bench. And obviously there's going to be a little bit of tension there in general for the entire season if he stays for the entire season. The most high likely scenario I'd see is him playing half the year in Golden State and then probably getting traded during the trade deadline or before the trade deadline. And that's if he plays well, which hopefully he does, so he can get his money. If he doesn't play well, that's when parliaments start to arise, because now your value went down. Now teams could say, we really like you and we want to invest in you, but we're only going to give you $15 million. And, that's kind of the unfortunate reality being in a situation like Johnathan Kuminga's, where, a team, they don't see you in their future plans. Now they're going to sabotage you and not allow you to get the money that you want on the market when you do become a free agent. So Johnathan Kuminga, he has to tread very carefully. And, going into next season, it's really just make or break for him. Will we either see him, be like a 19, 20 point per game guy, make it work with the Warriors, hopefully get traded at the deadline and, finally get the money he's warranted in the offseason? Or will we see him kind of just tread along, maybe get traded at the deadline, but now you're going into the offseason and, you don't get the money that you wanted or you're looking for? We'll see. But honestly, just a pretty tough situation to be in, especially for a guy, that sees himself so highly and, thinks very highly of himself as a basketball player. And, I think the max potential with Johnathan Kuminga, in my opinion, fringe all-star dude. Maybe there's more there. He has the tools to be, something more, but, kind of right now I see him being like a fringe all-star guy, if he really got the opportunity and a team gave him that opportunity to show that. But anyway, this is just like a short, quick little video about the Johnathan Kuminga situation. Again, comment down below what y'all think, and I appreciate, the support and the growth lately. And like, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time.